Hello, welcome to my channel. My channel is called Serenity and Strength, and it covers my journey of widowhood. My name is Joyce Onyango. I would request that you subscribe, like, and share. And I would also love to hear comments because the comments will help us to know which direction to go in. In this particular recording, I am going to discuss what happened the day after I broke the news to the children. The last recording actually covered that breaking of the news. In case you have not had the chance to listen to the earlier recordings, I would request that you kindly do so that you're able to catch up on the storyline. Now, once the children slept, I went to the sitting room to greet the visitors who had come because I'd not yet seen them. I'd left my brothers-in-law to take care of them because the children to me were the priority and I had to let them know what had happened. So I was with the visitors. They were condoning with us. And of course, I really appreciated the fact that they were able to come at that point in time because it was well after midnight. And they left their houses and came just to be with us at that very painful moment. So once they left, which was close to morning, I went and I tried to sleep, but the sleep wasn't really there. As soon as morning came, I just felt the urge to go to church, and I really felt that I needed to go to church. It was a routine that I used to do on a daily basis, at least during the weekdays, and I attend mass in the mornings before going to the office. But this time I really felt that need to go. So I told the maid that I was going and asked her to check on the children. And in case of anything, she could wake up my brother-in-laws because they were around. So I went to church, attended mass, and found myself very emotional during the whole mass. I stayed on after mass, and I really was just having conversations with God because to me, I had a mountain in my life which has just come, in my life, and I needed to be able to move that mountain. And I felt that going to the place of prayer, which is God's continual mountain, He was going to actually move that mountain in my life for me. I kept on having conversations with Him, of course, also questioning Him, just as any human being tends to when you're in such a situation. I asked Him to let my husband's soul rest in peace. I asked Him to give me direction. I asked Him to lead me. And one of the things I kept on saying is really, let it be okay. Let it be okay for us. And also for strength. Strength for me to be able to do whatever I needed to do. And also I did ask for peace. The Psalms or the God's word that kept on going through my mind was Psalm 121. I lift my eyes to the mountain. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not let me stumble, and He will never slumber. He never slumbers. That was what was going through my mind. Then also Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So those Psalms, which have always been amongst my favorite, kept on going through my mind as I was there. I still kept on talking with God, um, you know, having conversations with Him over the situation, and generally asking for strength. And within the church, I always feel God's peaceful presence, and it is so magnified in the church. And that particular day, I felt it was even more magnified than it had ever been. And really, it was what I needed. When things happen like that, you can be so caught up in the happenings. You can be so caught up in what you need to do, like breaking the news to children, and you don't even realize that those things take a lot out of you. And actually, I had been drained. I had been drained, and I needed that re-energizing, that balance spiritually. I needed to have also some spiritual direction, and I didn't realize it, but God took me where I needed to be because He urged me or gave me that urge, that need that I needed to go to church. With funeral arrangements, being available for children and for other people, whatever you have to go through, and then also so many varied emotions which are not that easy to handle, you find that you really need to be very, very intentional for making time for God. And I looked at this as a spiritual booster for me, which was a very major one. And I also kept on having these continual boosters, which were conversations between myself and God. And a lot of times it was just in my head, in the spur of the moment, you know. But what I could say is that that initial boost I got from going to church, it carried me through some of the most difficult days I have ever encountered or ever had to encounter. And yeah, it really, really carried me through. Once I had finished with church and my conversations with God, I went home. I was more at peace. I found the children were still sleeping when I got home. My brother-in-laws were also still sleeping actually, and they only got up a short while after I had already gotten back to the house. Those things I had already put in my mind that I needed to do. One was calling the office because I worked with internal audit. Our head office was in the Ministry of Finance, but I was seconded to Ministry of Labor and Home Affairs. So I called the head office. I explained what had happened. The head of department had the grace to have understanding. She told me that there was no need for me to go in that day. I could go in the next day. And when I go in the next day, it would be simply just to fill in the necessary forms so that I could fill in the leave form and also the salary advance form. I hadn't even thought of the salary advance. So she was sure I would need that. Now, I was the kind of person who'd always save no matter the circumstances. I'd always save so that in case of anything, I'd always have a basket somewhere that I'll be able to, dip into. And that is something which I think is of great importance to be able to save, especially in times of problems. And it's even more important as a widow where one lot of earnings is no longer available. And I think this is something which needs discussion on its own as its own topic. Then the other thing that I did, I had also thought of calling the children's schools because now they were not able to go and complete their final exams. So I called to excuse them from the exams and to excuse them up to the next term. And they had a 4-week break which was coming. So I called all the schools. Later on, I did realize that with my son's school, they didn't get the information that they should have. The person never passed on the information. The person I talked to, luckily, I knew who I had spoken to and was able to mention their name, and they apologized. But it told me that I think such things is better to handle them in writing, either an email or a WhatsApp message if that facility exists. Then also my husband's head of department called to pass on condolences, and he indicated that they would be coming the next day to the house and also with some admin people, and that they would let me know the things that they'll be able to handle and handle most of the items. Then the other thing that we did on that day was had to go to hospital. We had to go to hospital where my husband had passed on and do the final paperwork, which was actually required. Of course, as is the case with Africa mostly, we had a lot of visitors coming in and out during the course of the day with the most numbers being in the evening. Because when such a thing happens, you find that the people always come, they condone with you, they sit around with you, they actually, keep you company. And that does help quite a bit. But it also keeps you busy because I had to intentionally make time for the children all the time. Because otherwise you'd find, you'd be busy running up and down and also with people. Then one other thing that happened is that the children also asked to see their dad, and I will handle this in the next recording. The visit that we made to the morgue and how I handled the whole of that particular incident or case. Now, I can't emphasize enough about how that initial spiritual boost, where I was able to spend quite a bit of time in church, just meditating on God's word and also talking with God, communicating with Him, kept me going. And then the spiritual boost that I had every so often, also, those were really, really very beneficial. And God put people to stand in the gap right from Botswana to Kenya. Kenya were in Nairobi, Eldoret, and even Alego, and all through. I'll mention these people as the storyline unfolds, and may God continue to bless them all. I also pray that for people who need people to stand in the gap for them, God will provide them for you. Also, where you yourself can stand in the gap for anybody, whether physically or through prayer, it's good to do so. God gave me insights. Actually, I was able to reevaluate situations and to make decisions that were for our own good. Yes, there are times I would stumble, but you'd catch me and take me forward and make sure that it works out for us. There were highs and there were many, many lows. There were falls, and even there were times when I would despair. There are times I think I even complained, but he would carry us to where we needed to be. And I would apologize for doubting. Just like any human, when we face hard times, we find sometimes, those doubts just come. But he gave me strength beyond what I imagined I had when I needed to stand firm. He gave me that fortitude. Later on, I realized that whatever I had been going through in life, he was preparing me for this role. And you know what? He always sees the bigger picture and prepares us for all eventualities. So we should always walk with him and allow him to walk with us. I ask you to please share, like, subscribe, and also comment. I'll see you in the next. And thank you so